Hello! Welcome to Cultural Appropriation Month. You send in your costumes. We will be taking the winners on Mug Club. Mussolini. You guys see that? That's it. I'm very happy to own Twitter. Why is your Harvard shirt like a toga? That is Priya Rajari from Twitter. It's very clear that you're Charlize Theron. Yeah, this won't be taken out of context.
I'm a white South African farmer.
Oh my God.
Oh, he's dead because they won't let him have guns.
The winner actually is the Page family. That's familiar.
We don't exactly have Jim Henson on the payroll here. If you don't send in good costumes, we're not going to do Cultural Appropriation Month anymore. Oh, let me see it again. That's Easter Island. How is that a runner-up?
Oh, wow. Commit, okay?
Yes.
Look at me right now. Do you think I want to be like this? Commit.
Cultural Appropriation Month starts this week to celebrate Florida because remember, to appropriate is to appreciate.
This is the power grid turned off. This is the end of humanity as we know it in the Great Reset happening now. This is the apocalypse!
What's going on over there?
I don't know. Riley seems pretty upset, though.
Should we maybe intervene?
No way. This is an HR thing. Let's get Sam. Sam!
Yes, Casey?
Oh, you want to go take care of that?
Oh, yeah.
They are
Let's see what's going on over here.
Interdimensional goblin worms in your brain that are going to turn you into a giant slug. Do you understand? I'm about to talk to people who can't trust them out here.
Riley, is everything okay?
Yeah, everything's fine.
You can tell me what you and Alex are talking about. I'm HR. I'm here to help you.
Do you know how close the globalists are to completely shutting off our power grid? Do you, Sam? Do you? Because I do. They're this close.
That's kind of catching me off guard right now.
Well, they're gonna catch us all off guard. You better get your house in order. You better get your house in order.
Demon gay frogs.
Join Mug Club today. Only $99 a year, $69 for students, veterans, or active military. Glad to be with you. It was just about it's about 30 seconds of insanity just now. I opened a soda. I was like, I maybe need a little caffeine, and exploded all over me. Thank you, Tara out there. She helped me because it was leaking everywhere. I was like, I got to wash my hands. And she's like, here, I'll hold it. Go. I'm like, but I don't want you to hold my. She's like, go! Leave me! So yes.
I thought you meant the caffeine was hitting you.
Yeah, no. No, I didn't get to actually take any sips. And then just as we were preparing, don't say anything yet. Our third chair said, when are we going live? I'm like, oh my God, we are. Wow.
I don't know, 8 seconds.
But it's because we have the promos going, and he's like, wait, but I'm on there, but I'm me. So.
You're you.
Yes. I always love having him. So we have a lot to get to today. Look, Tucker's first show back. And by first show, I mean 10-minute installment on Twitter. We'll be talking about that. There's a lot to dive into. The more voices out there, the better, just to be clear. I'm always happy about that, and I hope he does well, and I hope he kills it. Elliot Page has decided she's not going to be outdone by Poop Swastika in creating her own fake hate crime. And the culture wars have turned into real wars. This is why when some people say, you want to waste your time with culture wars? Well, hold on a second. Culture wars include what's happening at parent-teacher conferences. It includes children on puberty blockers. It includes people being arrested for praying in public. So these have been sort of bleeding out, figuratively, into the streets, and we'll talk about that today. There were some Armenians who got attacked by Antifa in Glendale, nothing like perpetuating the original stereotype. And then we also have the CDC director, I don't know if you saw, laughed off the COVID restrictions. We just screwed people. Oops. So I have a couple of questions for you. Do you know anyone who still believes that the COVID restrictions and the lockdowns worked? I was just talking with someone yesterday about this, and they really hadn't done the math. They're going, I guess. I go, well, hold on a second. How many friends do you know who lost their jobs? And she went through it.
Yeah.
Did they get them back? No. Hey, are you vaccinated? Yeah. Everyone you know vaccinated? Yeah. Did you get COVID? Yeah. Okay. Any side effects? Well, not me, but my cousin. And they don't connect all of the dots. I had someone say, well, what did you do? when the COVID restrictions happened? I said, well, we did 2-a-days.
I worked more.
We did 2 shows every single day because even at that point in time when we didn't know what was going on, we decided we weren't going to live in fear. That's what I hope you guys move forward with. So next time, are you going to choose fear or are you going to choose to comply? Comment below. Did you learn your lesson? I think we all did here. And feeling a little bit better, not COVID, but maybe some leftover red tide.
Something like that.
Which, of course, tomorrow is Cultural Appropriation Month. Florida.
Yeah.
Send in your costumes. Is it you send them in on Mug Club? Right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
You can use Twitter, Instagram, or on Mug Club. You send us your pictures. Florida, your best Florida costumes, and you will get an entire Louder with Crowder merch pack, Mug Club membership, lock of Gerald's back hair. Number 2, CEO, how are you, Gerald?
Back hair.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Come on, you have plenty to go around.
Fantastic. I'm much better. I have a lot of energy. Other than the sleepless coughing night, I would be 100%.
That's the miracle of corticosteroids, you.
What I need is some cough syrup.
Hold on, I gotta introduce third chair, man.
Codeine, bro.
That's illegal. You can watch him today from this studio at madmaxworld.tv or infowars.com because we're not on YouTube. Screw them. You hear this, you know who it is, you know him, you love him. The legend, the OG, Mr. Alex Jones. How are you, sir?
I love being in the studio. Love your crew. It is very exciting.
That was very formal.
Wow,
we can split the difference.
Yeah.
I'm behaving myself.
You don't need to behave yourself. I have never asked you to behave yourself.
That's.
Hey, listen, this Tucker Carlson thing is big for everybody. Sure, it's impressions. So the 65 million views, probably more like 20 million. The point is that's 4 times more views than he got on Fox. It's the same thing you're doing at Rumble, bigger numbers than Tucker was doing on Fox. And so the corporate media has been dead for a long time, but their attempt to silence us is dead now. And so they've gone from being a collapsed dinosaur to literally being a shadow of a collapsed dead dinosaur. They are a joke.
Wait, if they're collapsed, how would they cast a shadow?
Exactly. But the point is,
more of a sundial.
There's nothing there. Is the point.
Okay.
It's a wisp of a wisp. It's.
I need to behave.
It's the vapor of the vapor.
Yes.
And of course, the new head of CNN that's supposed to turn it around. He's out. CNN's average viewership 80,000 people. The corporate system is a facade. We are the mainstream. We are the future. People want populism. They want freedom. They want prosperity, and the New World Order and the whole leftist system are a bunch of smug, arrogant con artists who are just now realizing how obsolete they've been for a long time.
Vapor of a vapor. I like it. By the way, kids, don't vape. Switch to cigarettes. Hey, here's an old man who identifies as a baby.
Oh my God.
Is that John Kerry?
I thought it was one of those cleft palate advertisements.
Oh.
Now, here's the thing. Once upon a time, that would seem weird, but society says, I'll allow it.
No, it's still weird.
Yeah, it's still weird to
very
us.
Weird, yeah.
It's still weird to me.
Hey, 2 men can have a baby, so an old disgusting man can go. Meh.
Well, remember that was that in Canada, that Steph Ani person, right, who identified as a 6-year-old girl, and then
there's also a lot of pedophilia connected to this.
Oh, of course there is. Well, how can you tell? I just like dressing up like a baby, even though I'm a grown person. So you're completely abstinent? No. I do weird sex stuff as a baby. Oh, okay. Well, let me put you on a watch list.
A watch list so that he can come to Drag Queen Storytime.
Yes, exactly.
We need to celebrate this person.
Yes, exactly. He should be an understudy. Yeah,
absolutely.
I remember back in the day when librarians, the worst they did was shh. Yeah. They didn't grind in my face with a rattle.
Can we see that one more time? It's so horrible.
Oh my gosh!
Why
All
would
right,
you
one
do
last
this?
time. His legs are so skinny. It's like when you see Kermit from the feet up.
Why would you film this?
I wonder if that person has any child porn.
Sing me a song about perverts. The trannies, degenerates,
it's real,
and me.
I can't even do them like
that.
Oh,
you do it pretty well. You do yours pretty well. Oh, hey, by the way, it's a live show, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. That's the best way to tune in. Notifications don't always work. Subscriptions don't always work. Everyone on YouTube eventually want to migrate over to Rumble, so that's part of what we are planning right now.
Oh, Kermit, what are you doing as a baby?
What is that? That sounds like a German housewife.
That was Klaus Schwab.
Is that Klaus Schwab?
Klaus Schwab is secretly Miss Piggy.
I'm the sexy mate.
I'm the sexy pig.
I'm the sexy. Yes, and why Kermit and Miss Piggy? Why all the girls pigs like mom and all the boys are frogs? What is this form of interspeciesism? It defies logic.
And have you made the frogs gay?
Yes.
You lose.
I blame Zyklon B. So.
Whoa.
Well, he's German.
He is.
Makes perfect sense.
And so it is.
I don't know if you saw this. The Air Force drag show was banned, right? And there's been blowback to that now. So you remember last week the Pentagon, they put a stop to the drag show at the Air Force Base in Nevada, to which most people responded, there was an Air Force drag show? And now there's been a bunch of backlash because I don't know. So Las Vegas Pride CEO Brady McGill went off about this cancellation. You've seen a bunch of celebrities.
Yeah.
This is what he wrote. To really see the progress really be undone. I'm reading him. So forgive me for the horrible grammar.
Do it.
Be undone so easily really means that there's more work to be done, and we fight every day to do that. This makes no sense. This guy can't write. I guess all the hormones have altered his brain.
There's a connection to LGBTQ people.
Yeah. Now, despite the setback, they want the show to go on. They're protesting. Here's the thing. They want drag shows. Like, you miss.
Well, let's expand on this.
Well, but I miss the old days.
We'll follow the old friends wherever he wants to go, long as he wants to go, even without his walls. We'll follow the old friends wherever he wants to stay, long as he still likes chicks because he's straight.
Well, I guess he would be straight.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe the old days aren't exactly rose-colored glasses. Expand on it.
Well, I see this. I dressed up like Wonder Woman on a comedy show, and I saw people in the comments going, look, he's against drag shows, and now he dressed up as a joke. No, Bob Hope at the USO used to dress up like a woman and make jokes.
Right.
Police Academy, they dressed up like...
Silly.
You've done it as a joke to go to the gym and show how ridiculous the trans
I
thing
ruined
is.
Wendy Davis's career as a dressed up as a woman, right? Because she wouldn't.
Good job on that.
Absolutely.
She couldn't interview a trans. It was in Austin. My wig and hat flew off, and I thought the jig is up. And Wendy Davis was like, "Oh, that's okay." I'm like, "It's so embarrassing." And then she was, of course, excoriated. Like, how did you not know this was Steven Crowder dressed up as a woman? He even called himself Stephanie, and her career was over.
Exactly. So they misrepresent. We don't want to ban books in libraries. We don't want child pornographic groomer books given to 5-year-olds. We don't want to ban drag shows. We don't want these sexually explicit things targeting children. So they misrepresent everything to change the subject. So, okay, you're going to have a drag show at the Air Force. Nobody's going to show up. Nobody cares. That's not even what we're talking about. It's the sexually explicit stuff with the children. You shouldn't take children to a topless bar. You shouldn't take children to one of these drag shows where they shake their ding-dongs in their face. This is sick. It's grooming. It should be illegal.
Yeah.
Well, the ding-dong.
One point in time, it was. Still is in Russia, by the way. If you're a pedophile in Russia, you usually commit suicide stabbing yourself 36 times in the back in shallow grave.
In the Middle East, you try to fly off buildings.
Yes, it's very weird. You try to fly off building in steel cage.
Weird.
There's no wings. There's no drag coefficient. All right.
You have a new airplane.
Yes, this is airplane. Like I
Look at that. He flew from top of building and went splash.
Yeah, did not work. He's like a Malaysian airline. I don't know why this Middle Eastern is Russian. I don't care. So, judge in Florida, speaking of this, blocked the gender affirming care, blocked the puberty. Okay, here's what happened. Florida, just to be clear. They said, you can't put kids on puberty blockers.
Okay.
We're not going to do sex change operations. Okay. We're going to stop that in the state because it's child abuse.
Because the child can't make that decision until they're 18.
Right. They can't choose to have sex. They can't choose to smoke a cigarette. They can't choose to drink alcohol. They can't choose to rent a car.
Can't buy a gun.
They shouldn't be able to cut off their penis or take mind-altering chemicals at an age before their brain is fully developed.
That also stunt your growth.
Yep, absolutely. Remember, we used to be concerned about lifting weights stunting your growth? They were like, it'll harm your growth plates. Turns out that's not true. But injecting a boy with a bunch of estrogen, the science is out. So they banned it in Florida. Now a federal judge blocked the law banning this kind of intervention. Here's a clip.
U.S. District Judge Robert Henkel blocked only parts of the new law, siding with 3 Florida families who filed a lawsuit against Florida's Surgeon General. Gender identity is real. They're the words from a federal judge who blocked part of a new Florida law involving puberty blockers for transgender minors.
It's real.
The injunction is in response to this lawsuit filed by the parents of 3 transgender children who say the transgender medical ban violates their rights as parents to make decisions for their kids. Attention on the new law has focused mainly on the puberty blockers.
It's a B,
and
sir.
Cross-sex hormones.
By the way, of course, the judge, Clinton appointee. Just to be clear. And this is the problem. When people say the system is rigged, it's not about being rigged against a specific race of people. It is rigged in that people who have been swamp. It doesn't just apply to D.C. Swamp creatures. It applies to your state
They are a
legislature.
cult, and they're getting massive amounts of money from the medical cartel, who can make so much money off of
But
this.
Alex, you know this as well as anybody. I'm talking about the swamp, meaning courts. A lot of people don't realize they're local courts. Some of these people are just
tentacles
revolving
of the swamp.
Yeah, they're tentacles of the swamp. You have people who just there's a favor that's performed. They become judges for extreme amounts
They
of
are
time.
100% political. In places like Austin, D.C., and New York, you cannot get a fair trial. That's how people were given 15, 18 years in jail that didn't even go into the Capitol.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And so this is something to be aware of when we talk about the system being rigged. Well, okay, a judge just said gender identity is real. Okay, prove it. Here's what you do. Prove it. It cannot. It is entirely a secularist religion.
If we can convince your 8-year-old to have their penis cut off or give them chemicals, we're going to do it. Okay, well, if you can convince an 8-year-old to get in the back of a van and go rape him, is it okay?
Right.
I mean, this is insane. And
well, of course, I said right. I meant absolutely not.
Of course not.
I was saying the point was right.
Sure, but books like Genderqueer, have you actually looked at You have looked at it.
Yeah, we've showed it on air. It's porn. It's porn.
It's child porn.
It's pornography.
It shows children, hey, if the neighbor wants to have sex with you in the shed, it's going to be great. Get in the shed with the old man.
I don't know if it says that.
No, it tells kids how to go have
says
sex
average.
with adults.
Yeah, it's close. It's within striking distance. So the judge, by the Clinton appointee, said this, that if the children did not receive the gender-affirming treatment, this is a quote, they would, quote, suffer irreparable harm. And so actually here, we've used AI to generate video of the potentially damaging, life-altering, irreparably harmful results. And I warn you, this scenario generated by AI, the following images may be disturbing for many viewers.
Disturbing.
Leaves no victim undisturbed.
But that's the lie. They say trans people are being murdered at record rates. They're committing suicide. Yes, in the big National Institutes of Health study, multiple people out of a small group committed suicide because they were so upset after the hormones and the rest of it. With surgery, it's even worse. Imagine being a woman and they cut off large portions of your thighs and forearms to create a giant, unfunctioning penis with a piece of plastic tubing in it that it generally, on average, rots and falls off within 1 year.
Yeah.
So they give you a big, giant, rotting thing that hurts, and then when boys, they cut off the genitals and create a fake bleeding vagina, and for up to a decade, they have to keep a giant dilation tool up in them. This is Hellraiser stuff.
Yeah.
And I was saying that a month ago, my crew goes, the last Hellraiser is actually a transgender woman that goes around ripping people's forearms and legs off and making giant weenies.
Yeah.
And so we
I don't
joke
think that
about
was
this.
in the pitch.
Well, I mean, we joke about this, but I mean, literally, they're like, no, that is Hellraiser. So the demons.
Giant weenie is an oxymoron. It's like jumbo
But it's
shrimp.
funny.
Yeah. It's like
I think weenie implies that it's small.
Well, let's just say this. It's not LGBTQ plus. It's now LGBTQP for pedophile and S for Satan.
Yeah.
And again, the person that made the Target apparel that says we're going to guillotine Christians and we're going to take your children and we're going to groom your children, they're going to join our satanic cult, these are quotes, came out and said, well, of course I'm promoting Satan. Big deal.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, I know they were trying to say it tongue-in-cheek, Satan, like LaVeyan Satanists. They don't actually believe in Satan. What they mean is they reject the archetype of God. We reject all of your beliefs as Christians.
And that's the wink, though. But
right, that's the wink.
When you actually get into these groups, they believe
in the
devil.
Look, worship of self is Satan. That's a door that opens it. When someone says you're perfect the way you are, guess what? That is idolatry.
Wrong.
And when you want to corrupt children, that's
they're
the
wrong.
ultimate sin.
I was like, you're saying I'm wrong?
You're right. They're wrong.
Yeah, you've turned yourself into a golden calf. Abortion is sacrifice at the altar of self. We all serve something, guys. You all have a master. Who do you want to rule you? Do you want it to be Fauci? Do you want it to be Biden? I don't want it to be Trump, just to be clear. Do you want it to be God? Or do you want it to be yourself? A lot of people think, I want to be my own God. Do you really want to, though? Think about yourself in your quiet time, the mistakes that you've made.
Well, what did Ray Kurzweil said? He said that, the head futurist at Google, he said, I don't believe in God yet. I'm going to become a God.
Right.
You've all know Harari. These people are crazy.
Right. Yeah.
Anybody that thinks they're going to become a God is nuts. Schwarzenegger just said, in between, screw your freedom, Americans. Oh,
Screw your freedom like I did the maid.
That's right.
The ugliest lady ever, but the son looked just like me. My wife had to act like she didn't know, but she knew.
Exactly. That's a better Arnold than I can do. So he now has come out and basically said, I'm going to live forever now.
Yeah.
Even though people that know him say he can barely walk.
Yeah, I know. Oh, well, thank you, Arnold. Hey, continuing on this vein, and this is kind of the theme today. Look, let me ask you this.
School freedom?
Smash the rumble button if you're watching. How important are the cultural... They're far more important to me than fiscal policy because it's the head of the beast.
Yeah.
If families are no longer a thing, if men and women cease to exist, if freedom of speech ceases to exist, well, then guess what? You can't fight back. Every single great, not only civil rights movement, but any revolutionary movement, any freedom-centric movement has to start with speech. It has to start with dissent. That starts with culture, and a culture that at least makes it permissible. And we're heading down a very dangerous path. We'll get into people who've been arrested now simply for praying publicly, which you would think could never happen in America. But first, Elliot Page, formerly Ellen Page, to many still Ellen Page, in a Los Angeles Times article titled, "The Survival of Elliot Page."
Oh, boy.
The actress revealed how she was gay bashed. Now,
oh no!
According to the Page last year, and look, not to be outdone by Poop Swastika and Jussie Smollett, we'll get into this.
Yeah.
I don't know, but when the story reads like every single homophobic or racist character in a film where you're like, that's too on the nose, immediately my antenna go up like a noose.
Yeah,
right at
exactly.
NASCAR, but you're like, hold on a second. They put a noose.
It's the little ropes,
garage pull.
But even if it was a KKK member, they'd be like, look, don't put a noose in his garage. Maybe like a scented candle burning cross.
I don't know though. The tip of that American flag that's white kind of looks like a KKK hood. Oh my God, you've got subliminal KKK in here.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Look at that. Look at the very top of the flag of the eagle.
Yeah, I guess it's the Iron Eagle.
You?
That's as bad as the nooses.
Wait till you see Gerald's SS tattoo.
Bubba Smollett.
I do not.
According to Paige, okay, last year when she was in LA, a man threatened him saying, this is the quote, "I'm going to effing gay bash you, faggot."
Well, that's how they do it. I'm going to gay bash you now.
And then,
Prepare to be gay bashed.
And then it says,
Ready to be gay bashed?
It says, "This is why I need a gun." Did Elliot Page respond with that, or was the guy saying, "This is why I need a gun"? To gay bash this
the
person?
man yelled,
"This is why I need a gun." So in other words, he saw a 5'0" man weighing 130 pounds, look like he should be on the Christian Children's Fund, sponsor him for a cup of coffee a day, and said, like, "I need a gun," as opposed to just a swift wind.
Like, I don't know what to do with that. It's
like,
The Walking Dead.
I'm about to hate crime you.
Right. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Elliot Page also believes that Elliot Page needs a gun, and we actually have exclusive footage. Elliot Page was spotted practicing with his new firearm.
Wow.
Careful of that kick.
Speaking of transgender, what do you think these people? What do you think they're going to hang themselves in 10 years? Upscale places like the Four Seasons? Do we think that, or do we think it's just going to be like a cabin in the woods known for sturdy post and beam infrastructure?
It hasn't happened yet, so we're not relishing.
Well, because Elliot Page had to forego Boy Scouts, didn't learn how to tie knots.
Oh, that's.
Well, let's go back to that quote. I'm about to gay bash you.
Yeah, exactly. Like
it's in quotes.
Yeah,
I didn't know
Get
gay
ready to
bashing
be,
was a.
Just so you know, it's gay bashing. He said gay bashing.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Well, how will you know it is gay bashing? Because I shall tell you it is gay bashing. How will you know it's because I think you're a faggot? Because I will announce that you are a faggot.
Homo.
He's not even right.
So
Elliot's
why is this all
trans.
happening now? Yes, exactly. Not even gay. Look, it coincides with Elliot's new memoir titled Page Boy. And this is the thing. Look.
Ugly.
You don't want to not believe any, but I don't believe most of what you hear because you've been subject to smear jobs.
Yeah.
I have as well. You have as well, surprisingly, Gerald.
I did it to myself.
Tucker Carlson has as well, right? There's this concerted attack to, here's something that you notice, right? You see other journalists, reporters, and outlets attack people on the right, whether you're a parent or whether you're a public figure. It's the Los Angeles Times. It's the New York Times.
And it's always the
Washington
same
Post.
formula and same script.
Right, but my point is they attack conservatives. With the left, they're the ones saying, I was attacked. You're not witnessing them being attacked by the media. You're witnessing them claiming that they are a victim while you watch actual victimization of sure, he's powerful, but Tucker, absolutely. Sure, Alex Jones is popular, but absolutely. Sure, it happened with us. Yeah. So when you watch
everybody knows
media,
the left are the real bullies, so they have to stage things against themselves to look like victims.
One claims to be attacked, the other you witness attacks in real time.
Remember the attack on all the Jewish cemeteries, and then Trump had talked to the state police?
Right.
And when he first got elected, and he had in his first State of the Union had to bring it up and say, no, I'm not anti-Semitic. I was told by police that somebody's staging this, and it turned out it was a leftist Jewish guy doing it to blame Trump.
Right.
I mean, and it came out, but it was just a little footnote. Oh, by the way, that was staged.
Remember there was Poop Swastika was staged because, white supremacists would
to the Air Force Academy. Somebody was writing the N-word.
Right, yeah.
And it was a black student. And then the Air Force is like, well, they were trying to bring inclusion.
Right.
And bring the problem to the...
And with celebrities, you've got Jussie Smollett.
Yeah.
You've got Bubba Wallace. Remember LeBron James with the racist graffiti? Because, yeah, I'm sure that a racist decides to target LeBron James. Let me go for a victim who's stronger than I could possibly be. So, I don't know. You can comment below. It's just the latest in a long line of celebrities who use hate crimes to get exposure. Almost without fail.
Yeah, Smollett, remember, was about to have his pay cut.
Right.
Yep.
The TV show had lost ratings.
Written out of the series. I believe he was
and so suddenly, 2:30 in the morning, 20 below, two guys pour bleach on him with a tiny noose and scream all these, this is MAGA country.
Yeah, the funniest thing, I don't know if they can pull up that
and of course, when the cops show up, it's totally fake. They're just like, this is
the
a
cops
joke.
are like,
He's like, look, I'm bleeding right here.
The cops are like, you can take off the Payless shoelace on your neck now. He's like, well, wanted to make sure you saw it. Like, yeah, we get it.
And then meanwhile, there's footage of the guys he hired buying all the stuff. Yeah. Remember, he had like some red lipstick right going, look, officer, I'm cut right here.
He paid by check.
Yeah, I know.
And
yeah, when I walked into the wall and cut my... I'm sorry.
Fake hate crime in the memo of the check. You don't do that.
No, you don't.
Exactly.
You can't write that off.
You make it out to cash.
There you go.
This brings us to, speaking of hate, receives a lot of hate from the left right now. And I hope that this guy takes the ball and run with it. So Tucker Carlson made his return. Like, I don't really know if we call this an episode, right? It's a 10-minute...
Yeah, it's a 10-minute
monologue
thing. Yeah.
Kind of a 10-minute monologue.
I think it's got 68 million impressions right now.
Yeah, 68 million views. Now, here's the thing, because I don't want people to get a sense of false hope, because sometimes conservatives overestimate their own influence. Now, of the 67 or 68 million, what people will say are views, well, a video view on Twitter is when your video is watched 50% in view, in that video view, for 2 seconds or more. Okay, or if someone clicks to expand or unmute your video. So it can be playing in your timeline, just to be clear. So 2 seconds can be playing in your timeline. There are a lot of incidental views, and that's very different. I just want to be clear about this. Very different from someone actually tuning in for an hour, watching a whole show.
I actually looked into this. There's guesstimations that 20 million views or 20 million impressions is like 5 million. But regardless, it's going to be 100 million impressions by tonight. I'd say that's a good 20 million views. This shows that the dinosaur media is dead.
Yeah. And he did this from his cabin, right?
Yeah, it looked like...
in Maine, yes.
I wonder if it's a cabin in the woods. I wonder if it can be Airbnb'd.
No, it can't.
Oh, I wouldn't allow it.
The callback, Alex. We use a little stage terminology here.
Yeah.
So, Gerald, you know more about this. You were really fired up about this. The show focused on the destruction of... I want to make sure... How do you pronounce... Is it Kakhovka?
Kakhovka. It's the
Kakhovka Dam in the southern Ukraine, right? And I think we have a clip.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. This morning it looks like somebody blew up the Kakhovka Dam in southern Ukraine. The rushing wall of water wiped out entire villages, destroyed a critical hydropower plant, and as of tonight puts the largest nuclear reactor in Europe in danger of melting down.
He didn't mic himself.
If this was intentional, it was not a military
He's got it, and I was surprised.
It was an act of terrorism. The question is, who did it? Well, let's see. The Kakhovka Dam was
the lighting makes it look like
Russian.
Face Off.
It was built.
It does. It's like a little uneven. I felt like
it currently sits in Russian-controlled territory.
He's
the
using
dam's
the camera
reservoir
mic for sure.
supplies water to Crimea, which has been for the last 240 years home of the Russian Black Sea Fleet. Blowing up the dam may be bad for Ukraine, but it hurts Russia more. And for precisely that reason, the Ukrainian government has considered destroying it. In December, the Washington Post quoted a Ukrainian general saying his men had fired American-made rockets at the dam's floodgate as a test strike. So really, once the facts start coming in, it becomes much less of a mystery what might have happened to the dam. Any fair person would conclude that the Ukrainians probably blew it up.
And the one thing I want people to see is the contrast and very clearly some things that he would not have been permitted to discuss on Fox News.
Yeah,
and that's a real positive.
Yeah,
so I really,
absolutely.
What I really hope to see is a much more. And I know, like, okay, he'll get some technical issues resolved, but the unfiltered approach, that's the real value to Tucker doing what he's doing, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah. So, in fact, CNN's covering this right now. Everybody's covering this damn story. Basically saying the same. No, that wasn't. No pun intended. They're covering this damn story right now. No, it's on the Dnipro River, right? And this is actually serving as kind of the front line between Ukraine and Russia right now. So there's a lot of speculation on both sides about who has done this and why and what's going to happen. But one of the biggest problems could be because of I'm not going to try to pronounce the Z word power plant, the Zaporizhzhia whatever power plant, right?
Zaporizhzhia.
Zaporizhzhia.
I think I'm close.
Yeah, exactly. So it's this nuclear power plant, obviously, that is the cooling flooding is largely fed by water from this area. And so they're concerned that there are going to be problems and ramifications, blah, 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 right? But my question is, do you think Tucker is spot on, or do you think he's actually missing something in the story here? And Alex, I would love your opinion as we go here, but let me just kind of set this up. The flooding is actually going to have a greater impact on the left bank, which is, controlled by Russia right now. As far as number of people and homes flooded, the numbers are they're moderate, but they're
like
not
2,700.
It's not millions of people.
Houses flooded.
Right.
Over 1,000 people evacuated.
Right. And Russians are going to have to abandon some of their defensive positions because they're now going to be inundated with water, right? And so this is also the water supply to Crimea, which Russia annexed in 2014.
Right.
85% of their water typically flows from there. But I did some other research, and some of the Russian officials actually said they've had some issues with water in Crimea for a long time. And they actually said, we have enough water for 2 years in Crimea, even if it doesn't rain and we don't get anything from this canal, right? So they actually have good water levels right now. They're not thinking it's going to actually be as big of a problem. But I don't know that I trust Russian officials. Call me crazy.
Yeah.
When they give you a story like that, there's probably citizens who are, they're hungry, but they're not starving, that are actually dying of hunger.
Yeah.
So that's something to kind of keep in mind when we talk about this. But one of the things that maybe makes this a little weird is that this could be a psyop that really makes Ukraine look better. And makes, because you're like, oh no, they're doing stuff to destroy Ukraine. It's going to destroy farmland, and it's going to put this nuclear power plant at the verge of collapse, and it's going to melt down. And it makes Russia look more brutal and like the bad guy. But let's go through a couple of points of why Russia would do it, right? So Tucker made a pretty good case for that, and we've got a clip showing you.
Okay.
It's not like Vladimir Putin is anxious to wage war on himself. Oh, but that's where you're wrong, Mr. and Mrs. Cable News consumer. Vladimir Putin is exactly that sort of man, the sort of man who'd shoot himself to death in order to annoy you. We know this from the American media, which wasted no time this morning in accusing the Russians of sabotaging their own infrastructure. Bill Kristol, the man who once told us that Saddam Hussein was responsible for 9/11, immediately denounced Putin as a war criminal and even more savagely compared him to Donald Trump. The rest of the pundit class made similar, clearly coordinated noises. Putin did it! Putin did it! And their reasoning was simple. Putin is evil, and evil people do evil things purely for the dark joy of being evil.
I think actually he has an opinion that Putin would be crazy to have done this. He was being sarcastic, you see.
Yeah, I
throughout
see
that
it now.
entire clip. He wasn't setting up why Russia would actually have reasons to do it. And I have an issue with that because I don't think it gives both sides of the story. He basically is saying this is obviously something that Ukraine has done, and Russia is being blamed by the media for doing this, but this doesn't make any sense. They would have no way. But he didn't provide kind of some of the reasoning for why Russia actually would have some benefit for doing this, right? So, like I said, when I led this off, it's actually serving kind of as the front lines. And Russia...
Well, they're strategic, right? Beyond... So I think they're two separate things, and I want you to explain. I'd love to hear Alex's input here. There's the war of... And this is true. You have the war in court. There's court and the court of public opinion.
Right.
There's also a war and an information war of public opinion.
For sure.
And especially as it relates to huge allies in the West who supply arms or eventually could potentially engage in the war, right? There's this war of public opinion appearing as the victim, appearing as someone who is the white knight. And there's a strategic element to the war, for example, topography, like the floodwaters, by the way. That would make a Ukrainian, their amphibious, their counteroffensive, nearly impossible.
Yes.
So from a military standpoint, before TikTok and Twitter, it would have made a lot of sense for Russia to do that.
Yeah, because they're actually, right now, Russia is technically on the defensive and Russia and Ukraine is on the offensive, right? So if they're going to try to attack through that region right now, they say that this flooding will actually make it impossible for tanks to go through the area, or at least incredibly difficult for at least a month. So it buys them significant amounts of time to be able to prepare for a counteroffensive from Ukraine.
They should buy some of those hovercrafts that I ordered in the back of a comic book. I never
think they
received it,
actually
though.
exist.
What do you think, Alex? Do you think Russia did this? Do you think it's a psyop, or do you think Russia did this, or do you think it's a psyop and Ukraine did it so they can play the victim?
I mean, I get your point, Gerald, that it's a little premature for Tucker Carlson to definitively say that we know that Ukraine attacked the dam. But what I do know is past behavior is always the best indicator of future behavior.
Yeah, for sure.
So I've been studying all this. I said back
Zelensky's going to play a piano with his dick?
I said back in absolutely. I said back in October 2 years ago that the Russians would invade by the end of February. And that was because I actually had sources in the U.S. military that were there that were already in a proxy war with Russia, and they already told them the war had already begun. So that wasn't a prediction. That was just a fact that if they were going to go in, they would do it by the end of February, because that was the doctrine of when the ground would start to thaw within a month or so. So they had to do it by the end of February, and they'd probably wait to the last moment. We also saw the Russians then lie let's say we're not going to invade, and then when the State Department said no, they're going to stage a false flag to attack some of their border areas as a pretext to come in, the State Department told the truth about that. And famously, the AP and Reuters people said, "You're Alex Jones saying false flags exist. They don't exist." No, they do exist. So it's fair what Gerald's saying. This could be a false flag by the Russians, but I remember a few months ago, the dam got attacked by these missiles. The Russians said it was Ukraine. Ukraine said, no, it's Russia. And then about a month later, the general, and that was mentioned by Tucker, goes, yeah, we did test it. We can take it out if we want. So what Gerald said earlier is true as well, though. Most of this has flooded the Russian defenses. And in a tank war, you need 2 to 3 more times troops that you're ready to lose to break defensive lines and take over. And you got to have reserves that go in. So you need to use a force of double to break it and then have a whole other force to go in behind it. And so this mainly flooded Russian areas. And so this was like an excuse for the Ukrainians who just had their month-long counteroffensive, which was going for over a month. They've gotten totally slaughtered, just like the Russians got slaughtered on the offense. Now the Ukrainians are getting slaughtered on the offense because they're sitting ducks coming across these fields. So I believe NATO blew up the dam because they also blew up the Nord Stream. They've also attacked that major bridge going into Crimea. The Russians have this as part of cutting off the infrastructure because they can't kick the Russians out of Ukraine. So they need this now as an excuse of why their offensive has to be called off because of the flooding. Go ahead.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
That does make a lot of
space
sense
on the world stage.
Yeah,
So-
I do think it's all you're talking about. Past behavior is best indicator of future behavior. Well, look, also we need to look again militarily. Sorry, if this is a little bit nerdy here. Russia, if you look at their military tactics, they kind of have a history of just scorched earth.
Oh, of course,
right. That's what they do. It's a good example would be they burned Moscow down.
Yeah,
right. They burned Moscow down when Napoleon invaded. Stalin blew up the Dnieper Dam. In Ukraine to stop the Nazi advance. So they have done this and they're willing to sacrifice their own people, just to be clear. And that does matter because that gives different soldiers, different militaries fight in a very different way. For example, my grandfather, he said you'll never meet a more cowardly soldier than the Arabic soldiers. And Josh Firestein said a lot of them are on opium because that's the loophole. Islamic soldiers cannot drink.
It's true.
They cannot engage in promiscuity, but by God, do they love their populace.
They could be high as a kite.
Yes. So do we want to hit these other things really briefly? Or?
Yeah, just really quickly. I mean, obviously the dam was at a 30-year high when it blew up, and a lot of people are saying, oh, this is Ukraine. Actually, it was in Russian control, and so they controlled the water levels, right? So some of the road, bridge, and deck had been damaged and destroyed, and one of the sluice gates, so what they opened for flooding, was damaged as well. And so the waters have actually been breaching the dam, but not like up to the top of it and flowing over it, but not enough to get a lot of the pressure behind it out of there. But there's no really credible report right now
of explosions
at the site, and so we really don't know. I think the point that Alex and I are making is that you can make a really good case for either one. Just because Russia is bad and is the instigator in this case,
they
doesn't
both
mean
asshole nations. Can we all agree on that?
It's a Slavic civil war.
Yeah,
they've been fighting each other for hundreds of years. And look, the first casualty in war is the truth,
of course.
And so, look, I love Tucker. He's one of my favorite people. We're good friends, but I do think that he sees the West as so deceptive and lying that then, okay, other countries must be good then. No.
So you think he might run the risk of almost like a right version of Noam Chomsky, where, for example, he became an apologist for Pol Pot. I'm not saying that Tucker is this way, but Noam Chomsky was an apologist for Pol Pot. And he said, well, I wasn't. What I was saying was that the Western media, because they think that any Marxist overthrowing of a government is the worst thing that could happen. And I was saying that the death toll was, he was always looking to vilify America and the West, so he empathized with some horrible...
Yeah, and that's the classic left. I mean, Tucker's a consummate populist, loves America, sees we have an occupational globalist government, and I tend to agree with him. I think the Ukrainians did this. But you can see him basically. Here's another thing. We'll get to this.
They may have, but we need to be responsible, right? We need to be very careful with this because then they throw. In other words, if you're wrong, then they throw you into election. When we say, look, this is what happened with the election. When we say, look, this is the data with the.
We should be able to war game it all.
Yeah. People. I want you to be able to trust what it is.
Well,
I think it's very likely, but we cannot declaratively state that Ukraine did it and it's a psyop. And
I wouldn't be as flippant as he was about Russia's potential motives for doing it. He could have presented a case and said, I don't buy any of that because everybody thinks Putin's evil just for evil's sake. He could have said
but it's a valuable counterbalance to the media not even questioning it.
Right.
Just don't say in the affirmative that you know. Say, we know that the media doesn't know, and here's what we know.
I think the evidence overall leans towards it being Ukraine, but it's not decisive that the dam was even attacked.
Well, that's the thing, too. It may have just been because of neglect.
Yes.
Right? The dam could have actually just had a structural collapse because it had issues prior to that, right?
So, well, here's what we do know.
Like the lake that lit on fire in Cleveland.
Here's what we do know.
The river, that's right.
In February, The first thing the Russians took when they got in there was that nuclear power plant.
Yeah.
So the biggest one in that area of the world. Biggest one in Eastern Europe, biggest one in Russia.
Also tall hats.
I mean, it's a gigantic complex.
Yes.
I mean, you've seen satellite photos of the damn things it was like 5 miles
Mm-hmm.
long. Okay, I mean, it's Chernobyl on steroids if it goes down. The Ukrainians, on record, because I looked into it, they admitted they were doing it. They've tried to take it 5 or 6 times.
Oh, yeah.
And have been shelling the damn thing. So, I mean, if you'll shell a nuclear power plant with artillery, you're freaking nuts.
Yeah,
It is generally ill-advised. And I think we have a clip here to tease because on the Mug Club, if you remember a Mug Club, Alex said, I really, really want to get into this because he does have a disagreement, but he wants to explain why. So it's going to take a while. Alex is going to be Alex, so we won't do it now. But on Mug Club, this is something that Tucker Carlson had to say about UFOs.
Curiosity is the gravest crime. Yesterday, for example, a former Air Force officer who worked for years in military intelligence came forward as a whistleblower to reveal that the U.S. government has physical evidence of crashed non-human-made aircraft, as well as the bodies of the pilots who flew those aircraft. The Pentagon has spent decades studying these otherworldly remains in order to build more technologically advanced weapons systems. Okay, that's what the former intel officer revealed, and it was clear he was telling the truth. In other words, UFOs are actually real.
I wish you could see the vein on Alex's forehead right now.
Extraterrestrial life.
I know, right?
Now we know. In a normal country, this news would qualify as a bombshell, the story of the millennium. But in our country, it doesn't.
Alex, this is an exercise in restraint. We're going to give you free reign when we go to Mug Club to say whatever it is that you want. 'Cause I know you're like, but let's hold it. That was a tease.
Well, I'm actually an expert on this. I have the answer on the UFOs.
You do.
And I will give it to you behind the paywall. And I'll be live today at 11 a.m. Central with my show from the great Stephen Crowder Studios, Infowars.com/show.
Thank you very much. All right. And we just found this
You want some good news?
Breaking news.
Good news?
Chris, is it? You were just saying Chris Licht.
I told you that at the start of the show. You don't listen to me.
Boom.
I heard you touching it briefly. I didn't know it was official.
Can we get some? Is there party music?
Chris Licht is out as CNN chairman and CEO?
That's worse than Brian Stelter.
Any hole will do. Any hole will do.
Stop.
This is good. Oh, by the way, this is a great week. Benil Dariush fighting for his contender spot this weekend in the UFC. He's the guy with brass balls who in the UAE said, hey, there's only freedom in Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
He's on an 8-fight win
Love
streak.
that.
They're trying to deny him the title opportunity because they want to break into Arabic and Muslim markets. He's going to be on the show tomorrow. That guy is an absolute animal. You know what they call him? The daddest man on the planet. So it's a great nickname. He's the
Strange animal. Strange animal.
No, that's me.
He's the daddest man on the planet.
He's the daddest man on the planet because I love him. But he's a good. You might actually want to have him on your show.
I love all your guests.
He's a great dude.
Please get him on my show. Tell me how.
All right, but we are going to talk about UFOs. But smash the rumble button right now. So here's something. People talk about culture wars. So Chris Licht, is that after Zucker? Did he replace Zucker?
I believe so.
Boy, that's really fast.
It was fast because the ship is sinking, and who wants to go down with that?
I'd like to comment on this.
Yeah, go ahead.
So they bring in all this extra money. They do this shifting around, and then there's a rebellion by the host attacking CNN whenever they, had Trump on.
Yep.
And so no one can right the ship at CNN because CNN is the symbol of fake news. It is the symbol of synthetic garbage. The only way they could save it is if they brought back basically 24 hours a day crossfire debate shows with real populist, real Christians versus real crazy Antifa leftists. If you turn it into Jerry Springer and the left and right fighting, because that's how Tucker got so big at Fox, was the left would come on the show. If they basically change my mind 24 hours a day. Seriously, they could go set up at parks around the country and rip off what you do, and it would have giant viewers.
Many people have.
Yes, I know.
In Australia.
Including myself. But the point is that...
no, you didn't rip it off. You crashed mine. That was actually a fun day.
That was fun, yeah.
I didn't know what you were doing, though. When you shut up, I was like, what, is he mad at me? And
no, you can see I was kind of smiling in my eyes.
Yeah, I was like no. And then the media picked it up. Like,
that makes you
Stephen and Alex Jones have tense clash. I'm like, what? Just shows you how silly the media is. No, but that's a good point. Yeah, they're wrong about everything. And this is the thing. The media has never been unbiased. I don't care if you're left, if you're right, just don't lie to us. CNN, their gravest sin is lying to the public.
Yeah, I'm biased for freedom and America and God and country and children, and I wear it on my sleeve. They go, oh, we're not biased at all. We just want to arrest our political opposition.
Right. Yeah, you wear it on your occasional Invisible Jet Wonder Woman sleeve, which is a joke. It's not to be taken seriously. We've all done it. All right.
Why does Alice get to dress up like Wonder Woman then Bees against drag queen times? Because I don't go shake my pecker in kids' faces.
There you go. That's to put a finer
I do
point
dress up like Wonder Woman at night, though.
Yeah, I know.
That is the third word you've used for penis.
Yes,
Keep it
exactly.
coming.
Yes.
Well, it's an easy joke.
Yeah, it's an easy one. You can go.
I mean, dick jokes are easy.
That's the third different word, though. You've got an entire Rolodex.
Look. We've had him
Johnson.
We've had him change in the back room.
Donecker.
Okay.
Weenie.
Yes. His John Thomas is
sausage.
impressive. Just to be clear, it's also just as rageful as him. It has a forehead vein.
Rub warm with earmuffs.
What do you think? You soak that thing in oil of oregano and colloidal silver? All right, that's enough. They're children.
My wife will tell you I have the largest micro penis in North America. No, it's actually a huge micro penis.
Yeah, it's a huge weenie.
Well, it is true. You know those little balloons that blow up super big?
Yeah.
Women are like, oh my God.
Okay, all right, Alex.
All right.
There's things we didn't know about.
It's like Ant-Man. You know, he gets really small, he also gets really big. See? It's like
Dear God, culture wars.
All right. So when people
I
say
dropped a razor while I was shaving.
When people say that's a Venus commercial, I don't want to see. When people say the culture wars are it's just something that they use as a distraction. No, it is your life. You are far more affected. Think about this. How often are you affected in your day-to-day life just by fiscal policy?
Or the time Trump touched my pee-pee?
Oh, jeez.
All right, I'm being bad. I'm going to stop. He raped me, actually.
Yeah, well, you actually, I woke up one day very sore, and you had showed up to a change my mind. The point is, I'm not wagging fingers.
Exactly. Well, let's expand on that.
No, let's not.
Remember that lady that won the lawsuit against Trump? Trump said he was innocent, and so the jury said, you didn't prove he raped you, but he's not allowed to say he's innocent, $5 million defamation.
I really hope there's a butterfly effect universe where we're not discussing Alex Jones's penis, but
I want $5 million from Trump. If he says that he didn't rape me, I get $5 million.
Well, good. Let's do that. Let's work on that, okay? But right now, we'll continue with the culture wars, and then we get to go nuts on the UFO thing. But yes, $5 million from Donald Trump. Let's get on it. So speaking of this, the culture wars. Yeah. This is something people just say, it's something that's a distraction. No. In your average everyday life, how often are you affected by what would be determined as fiscal think about the debt ceiling. And I know that it has a ripple effect, but day to day, you are consistently running into the very fabric that makes up the American culture, right? How you have to interact with people, if you're allowed to speak at all, what issues you are allowed to discuss, especially with social media. Look, these entities are more powerful than governments. When people talk about who actually needs to be out there in the town square, though we'll get to someone who was banned and arrested for praying in the town square, but the digital town square is obviously far more important, far more influential, and they have their own set of guidelines. So, Culture Wars, Pride Month. Okay, this man was arrested in Reading, Pennsylvania for protesting across the street. Arrested for protesting across the street from a gay pride event. Arrested. Watch.
You don't have to say you don't care. I don't. Guys, let them have their. This is public property. Okay, but respect. Oh, I'm respecting it. Let them have their event. You know who's cheering for us? The people that are in hell. So you do you, and I'm going to do me. This is public property. You. God is not.
This is why you don't unanimously just back the blue.
No.
This on film.
Can I give him my bag while stuff's in?
By the way, this is not isolated.
Yeah.
But the cops are proud of themselves.
I cannot believe I'm watching this.
Now here's the thing. This guy wasn't a Westboro Baptist God hates fags with 14 members. 3 of them have flippers.
No.
This guy, even maybe he might have been out of line at some points. We didn't see it in the clips. Even if he was, those police officers have no right to arrest.
0.
And we'll contrast it with what happened to the Armenians, by the way, at the hands of Antifa. 0 right. This is why I've said, no, I'm not going to fly just a police flag or just a back the blue. I support police officers not being killed by Black Lives Matter terrorists and Antifa terrorists.
But you don't endorse the police state either.
But these people, you think that person wouldn't be happy to come in and confiscate your guns? He's willing to confiscate your civil rights. So the guy, Damon Atkins is his name. He was, what he claims, this is what we have, attempting to read a Bible verse when he was arrested. And the verse was 1 Corinthians 14:33. For God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all churches of the saints. And he was also carrying a sign, similar to the one in this photo, that said, go and sin no more.
Yeah.
Okay. He was booked for disorderly conduct.
And a repent shirt, because if you upset the left, that's disorderly. And this is what the EU has set up. Remember about 3 months ago, they had a Davos group meeting, and they had Republican congressman, Democrat congressman on the stage. Kinzinger was there, and the deputy EU head said, we've banned speech here and have hate laws and arrest people. You're going to do it soon in your country.
Well, we have some examples, because I was raised in Canada.
Starts nodding.
And I did this for a long time. I did Hate Speech is Not Real, Change My Mind.
Right.
The first one was with a sandwich board in Burlington, Vermont, because I couldn't actually set up a table. And then I was almost assaulted, and I was like, I'm in a sandwich board. I'm very immobile. So let me give you some examples, by the way, just in Canada and the UK. This is something that has happened, and they want to happen here. This is, when I say America is the greatest country on the face of the earth, at least until this changes, there is no other country where freedom of speech actually exists. It doesn't. Enshrined in the Constitution as absolute. People try and say fire in a crowded
Congress
theater.
shall make no law with the establishment of religion or prohibit the free exercise thereof.
Right.
Then it goes into freedom of the press, freedom to assemble, freedom to petition.
But let me show you Canada. Canada in 2007. This surprised people when I said, you know what? No, I'm not pro same-sex marriage, pro same-sex civil union. Why? Because we've had pastors be arrested for speaking out against it. So Pastor Stephen Boisson in Quebec, he was found guilty for hate speech after writing a letter to the editor protesting LGBT school curriculum in Alberta. He wrote a letter. What he really got in trouble for was he said that he would not support same-sex marriage in Canada. In Britain, 2023, Isabel Vaughan Spruce was arrested, in case you've forgotten. We have a clip, for silently protesting. Silently praying, I should say. They listed it as protest, again, disorderly conduct. She was silently praying outside of an abortion clinic. In Britain, this is illegal.
Yeah. Can I please ask you to step away from here and step outside the exclusion zone?
I'm protesting and engaging in any of the activity.
But you've said you're engaging in prayer, which is the offence.
It's silent prayer.
No, but you are still engaging in prayer.
That's like a violation of 4 civil rights, human rights.
Yeah. So you would rather that you be arrested and taken
Because
away
they're mind readers.
than stand outside the exclusion zone. Is that what
That's quite all right. I was
let them run around and do whatever they want.
Yes.
I don't think I'm being contacted with I'm not protesting.
And then they arrest. That's quite all right, sir. I was praying to Allah. Oh, right, yes.
And remember,
Carry on.
a war veteran, actually a war hero in the UK, I mean, there's hundreds of these examples, posted a trans flag where you put them all together and it makes a swastika and said, I believe this movement's dangerous to our children.
Mm-hmm.
They came and arrested him and charged him. And last time I heard, I think he spent like a month in jail.
Well, we had, so we were banned from Twitter or Facebook for a while because I did the Gestapo article, and it had Hitler with an armband and a bunch of, clown tranny makeup, which, I repeat myself. And they said, well, it's the same. So the worst that happens here is you get suspended, you lose your livelihood. There you actually lose your rights. In Britain in 2019, by the way, this has been going on it's been going on throughout the entire, I should say, really 21st century.
And
Well,
remember,
honestly, 20th century as well.
And the ADL is advising it overseas.
Yeah, Christian hacking as a guy crippled. Did you remember this one? He was arrested for kneeling in prayer outside of an abortion clinic. In France, 2023, students were forbidden from praying at a university. So it starts with you can't say something offensive. Then it's, well, hold on a second. Who determines what is offensive? Praying is the offense you just saw in that clip. So it starts with that, and then it goes
Now
all
it's
the
your
way
thoughts,
down to...
silently. It's thought crime.
In the UK, you had a man who was jailed, who was brought up on charges because he did a karaoke version of Kung Fu Fighting at a karaoke bar. A Chinese man walked by and said it was offensive. That's how far it goes. And you think that they have freedom of speech in England. They do not. You think they have freedom of speech in Canada. They do not. They do, and that's what they want here in the United States. That man being arrested, that is terrifying. That is an abuse of power.
Well, let's expand
that man should
on
be
this.
stripped of his badge.
Remember the government disinformation board and the weird lady that that sings Little Mermaid was going to control everybody's speach? Well, now they've brought it back.
It's funny, the description. I remember it perfectly now, yes.
As this countering foreign disinformation board. That's what Obama set up and put in place to block Trump. Now they're officially making it a huge position in the government. And in the legislation they've introduced, it says prison time for, quote, hate speech. DeSantis signed this thing in Florida that basically does that. It's dangerous.
And this is why I spoke out against it as early as, I don't know, it was 2015, well, I've been talking about this since 2011, actually.
Yeah, we got the
because we don't want it to come into our country, and we've got the clip of the WEF saying it's going to come to our country.
Oh, do we have that? Well, let's run that clip, and then we'll run the Change My Mind teaser. So we have the WEF. Here you go.
The people who understand the language and the case law in the country. Because what qualifies as hate speech, as illegal hate speech, which you will have soon also in the US. I think that we have a strong reason why we have this in the criminal
Evil
law.
laughter.
How about we take zero advice from someone with your accent?
Platforms to simply work with the language and to identify such cases. The AI would be too dangerous.
Yeah, I don't know if you're history buffs, but I'm not really a fan of someone with that type of affectation in their voice determining what is allowed to be discussed.
She's talking to a Republican congressman who's nodding. And of course, I think you'll be getting rid of your speech quite soon. He's like, yes, mein Führer, I will be.
Yes.
Well, and anybody who invites Brian Stelter as an expert on anything to their panel.
Yeah.
He was the moderator.
What? No, that's I know.
Guys, it's not fair. It was his Make-A-Wish.
By the way, I love that.
He has reverse leukemia. It makes you fat.
Yes.
By the way, it was terrifying when I went in the bathroom.
Yeah.
I went in the bathroom.
Oh, we have the Stelter.
And you have a hole in the wall with Stelter looking out of it.
Yeah, I know.
That's extremely great.
I know. We are very disrespectful of our own offices here.
I kind of felt bad, like pulling my wee-wee out in front of him.
Well, you didn't use a different word.
Yeah, there we go.
Could have gone with Purple Helmet Warrior.
Brian Stelter looked at my weenie.
He looked at it and he said, nice vascularity. Taking a pre-workout? Hey.
Actually abused Stelter in there.
And if you want a refresher on hate speech, by the way, and this is why Change My Mind exists, so that you can specifically stake out a topic. We make the references available so that you can prepare for this. Hate speech is not a thing. It's not real. It's
a communist tactic they invented in Russia.
But you need to be able to argue it effectively yourself. And so if you've missed it, we've done several installments of Change My Mind. The links will be in the description.
Would you like to have a discussion, or would you like to interrupt and be contentious? I'm trying to listen.
Would you like to be arrogant and not hear people say, you're making me uncomfortable, you're hurting me, you're causing dysfunction in the world, say, oh, are you going to have an intellectual discussion? Because, I don't understand or
No, I understand
honor other
exactly.
people's
You said there's no
really
definition of a
dude.
human right.
You really don't. People who understand and empathize with other people, when they say, hey, man, you're really making me uncomfortable and you're making my life worse.
Yeah, legally that's irrelevant.
They practice on hearing. They don't make references to the law, man.
But that's what matters.
No, it's not. What do you...
Yeah, it is.
No,
that guy wants
man.
to take your free speech is upsetting to me, but he has a right to do it. But
exactly. He had a right to interrupt my free speech.
Everybody thinks I got taken off Twitter for the thing they hyped up that I never say the name of, in Connecticut. No, I was taken off finally because Oliver Darcy was going to a congressional hearing that was about me, where I was being brought up,
I saw this.
where I wasn't allowed in, and I come up to him and I say, how dare you run around policing and with Stelter being behind me getting taken off, because they would go and report me and have stories why they took our sponsors away, targeting our sponsors, harassing them, took them years to get us off. And I say, how dare you be un-American, how dare you be anti-free speech. They said I was bullied him, and that's why I was taken off Twitter. Vagina or whatever her name was, whenever she was on with Joe Rogan, pulled out their corporate document, she's the lawyer, and said, no, here's why he was taken off. He bullied
Oliver
Darcy. Oh, so that's hate speech. That's they're made up. So I confront a public figure who's taking my rights away, who's going into a hearing that's attacking me, and I say, how dare you? And they're like, you hurt my feelings. That's how dangerous these people are.
Well, these people, if they get in control, what ends up becoming hate speech is what they don't like. That's why we can't allow it in the United States. And here's just to show the selective. Were you about to say something, Gerald? Okay. The selective application. Hold on a second. I have the
your cough button.
The selective application of the law, and you see the difference, right? Okay, you need hate speech. But why? Because, these certain groups need protecting. Okay, what about Armenians? I don't know if you know this. Armenians have experienced, a lot of Armenian Americans, they've experienced, a lot of them come from a country where there was a pretty big genocide. I know the Turkish will tell you that it's
at least 1.5 million of them.
Yeah, as part of a population percentage, one of the largest ever. And there are Armenians right now, or there were, in Glendale, of course, protesting is sort of LGBTQ education curriculum, right? What ended up
happening... The sexual brainwashing of their children.
Yes, the pornography, right? They showed up because Armenians are very strong, family-focused. They're pro-America.
They're against grooming.
They were attacked by Antifa outside. And I don't know if there have been arrests of all of these Antifa members as opposed to that man who was praying and had a sign that said, repent and sin no more. Right. But here is a montage of what went down with the Armenian Christians who want the depornification of their kids' classrooms.
Breaking news, fights break out outside the Glendale School Board meeting as board members prepare to recognize June as Pride Month.
As though it's mutual combat.
This is all in regards to a school board meeting tonight for the a curriculum that's being voted on for the Pride support. I can zoom in here and show you that the two opposition sides have been separated by that, and also by the law enforcement officials here on the scene here.
Yeah, separate them with a giant slinky.
By the way, you notice there's almost none of the groomers on that side.
Right.
No.
This is a cult they're forcing on.
And we have some quotes from the parents, right, who are inside the board meeting. Again, you are the danger. You are the enemy. One of the parents said, I'm here on the side of parents who want to keep the focus in schools on academics rather than on sexual orientation or so-called gender identity, which is a fake, made-up concept with no basis in material reality and does not help kids get ahead in life. Hey, this is why they may not have a huge tolerance for it. It could just be the messaging. They've experienced something known as the Armenian genocide. When you say there's a trans genocide going on because you can't take a dump in the bathroom of your choice at a Walmart, they tend to, feel as though their experiences are being a little marginalized.
Barely escaped,
right?
And most of them got killed,
right? Just like with Jews who actually fled persecution when they hear you call everyone who voted for Donald Trump a Nazi.
The group called the Young Turks,
right? Yes, exactly.
And then another leftist group then took the same name.
Yeah, I know. They say it was something else that meant they were rabble-rousers.
Yeah.
So this was obviously
you do
was
the best imitation of the.
I don't do it anymore.
Why?
Like you said, you don't mention that. I don't, because we buried it once we passed them in subscribers. Right? We said we're not, because I knew it would happen. When I was
You do it so good.
When I was young,
do it 1 second for
they
me.
would. No, I won't, because I was attacked by them, and they would never show up to debate. And then I said once we pass them in subscribers, they're irrelevant. And of course now it's yip 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 yip. So,
but just for me, we just without.
I'll do it off air. I'll do it off air in
yeah,
front of the Stelter wall hole.
Okay.
You going to the bathroom?
So here's how the California Attorney General's wife, Mia Bonta, responded. California, this can't be our way. As a former school member, seeing this hateful violence break out because Glendale USD sought to celebrate Pride Month is heartbreaking. There was no violence breaking out. These people were attacked because they don't want porn in their kids' classrooms. Yep. We teach inclusion and belonging in our schools, not hate and bigotry. Now, here's a
translated, we're grooming your kids.
Yeah, and here's an interesting contrast. This is the unholy alliance from the left. It sort of has to self-destruct. You know who else has been really against the grooming of children? A lot of Islamic groups. Don't know if you know this, not big fans of what they refer to as faggotry. Their term, not mine. So CARE, who might even be designated as a terrorist organization, depending on which governing body you're looking to. I'm not saying that I'm sympathetic to CARE, but a lot of leftists are. They use CARE sometimes. So does the Southern Poverty Law Center in determining hate groups. Right? They opposed gender ideology in Maryland, for example. Zainab Chowdhury, director of CARE Maryland, said it's not the school system's place to create that environment under the guise of inclusion, diversity, and equity. They are essentially faith washing or brainwashing or imposing these values. This is not a conservative group. They fought immigration restrictions. They called for President Trump's impeachment. They
and
defended
the left
critical
is
race
clear.
theory.
They've gotten rid of God, and now they're making LGBTQPZ.
Well, we know that, but what I'm saying is look at their treatment. Look at their treatment. The media, the left, social media, big tech, their treatment of Christians opposing the pornification of classrooms versus the very outspoken opposition coming from the Islamic
community. They just ignore the Muslims, who, by the way, in England, in the U.S., I see this, the town halls, I see the school boards. It's like, I'm actually proud of the Muslims in like New York and Michigan and places. They're like 90% of the people protesting is them.
Dearborn, a bunch of Muslim parents, they protested the introduction of these porn books, right, last October. You probably didn't hear about it. Here's the silver lining. People are listening. People are listening to you right now, just to be clear. Bud Light, Target. People are listening. Don't be fooled by the conservatives who say, well, I'd rather work for a think tank. I'm more of a libertarian. I follow the William F. Buckley Jr.'s school of thought. Hold on. I love Buckley. Write about a lot of things. But you got to get your hands dirty here, just to be clear. It's not just about fiscal policy. And guess what? You're winning. Think about how much more of an impact you have had right now at home. You, right now, at home, Target, Bud Light,
with the boycott.
Than the debt ceiling. What can you do about the debt ceiling? Once you vote, not a whole lot.
You have power over what you buy, and that's why they want the ESGs to make you buy what they want to make you buy their products that empower them and destroy you. That's why we've got to stop the ESGs, and that's what this boycott of Anheuser-Busch and Target and North Face and all of it is our real ESG, where we have a social credit score of we don't agree with leftist globalist corporations, and we're going to stop supporting you, and we're going to support Mug Club.
Well, Alex, ESG or UFOs? You have to pick one.
Well, I mean, okay. Well, we promised to cover.
We're going over time. But I do want to go to the UFO. But first, look, call me old-fashioned, out of touch. I do miss the innocence of the old days.
No,
because we love Z, especially when Z shows us her balls.
Her balls?
Yes.
Yeah. Just stop trying to make sense of it. If you're watching on Rumble right now, click. We're going to let Alex be Alex. Yeah. I mean, he's always Alex, but he has something.
You're going to release the Kraken, and then in an hour, I'll be doing my own show from your powerful studios.
Yes.
Yeah. Hopefully it works out. Visit the website. I know nothing.
MadMaxWorld.tv, Infowars.com. You can watch them in an hour. But right now, if you're on Rumble, click that button. You can join Mug Club. And hey, maybe at some point, Alex might have some content here. We don't know.
Well, let me say one more thing about this. It's a revolutionary act to share the Crowder Show and to tell people and to be a subscriber. It's revolutionary to come to Infowars.com. We're changing the world, folks. And I know the listeners know that, but really get in your head. We're in a culture war. You're not the tail. You are the dog. You've got to exercise your power in the market. And that doesn't just mean boycotts. It means boycotts. And if you support us, we can look how Steven's expanding. Look how we're battling through. We need your support, and we're thankful for it.
He gets so wound up. His fire ant just turned into an anaconda. All right, Rumble, thank you very much. Let's go to Mug Club.